Notepad X is another Notepad application for Windows 10, and it has some interesting features to it that just make things more frontal and easier to notice compared to the past notepads that I've been doing in these Notepad Chronicles. Let's take a look on how it works, and let's see if maybe it can be the number one contender in terms of your alternative to Notepad. As you can see, this is Notepad X, and with Notepad X comes a few changes versus the other original Windows Notepad. One major changes. You have tab support. So basically, to change tabs, you can either just click the tabs, or you can click this button here, and you can go forward between the tabs, or you can click this button here, or what you can do is you can hit Control-0. And then one thing I noticed when you do this is if you keep holding Control after you switch tabs, you actually have to let go of Control and press it again in order for it to work again. So if I do it again, it doesn't work. But then if I let go, it works. It's very strange. Maybe that's a little bug, but you have to let go of the button completely and then redo the input in order to change tabs with the shortcuts on the keyboard. So you have your tabs up above. And then over here, you have your tab management, so you can see your current tabs. You can close all the tabs. You can see how much space they take up. So you can see this document here, Untitled 0 or Untitled 2, and then my other document here. You can see how much space they take up, where the directory area is that they are. It's really nice. It's really cool. If you click here, it says click on file name to unlock or lock or unlock your files. So you can see up above here the little disk icon. If I click it, it's locked, which means I guess the file name can't accidentally change. If I unlock it, you can see this file, this little disk icon changes back to a disk. And then another cool thing you can do is you can have columns. So as you see here on the other Notepad app that I took a look at the other time, I think it was about last week, the column info and the amount of characters you were using, all the info was like at the very bottom. It was hard to really see where it was located and stuff, but this allows you simply to see what row and column you're on. So jumping forward to my other tab here where I've written some pseudocode for this class that I was in, you can see here the exact amount of lines that each item that you created is and how many characters they were. So you can see here line 1 consists of function main, and then all the way down to line 42, which is really nice. You can see there are 19 columns because the characters change by the column. If that made any sense, I doubt it. But you can see there are different columns. You can see exactly where things are located. It just makes it easy to locate what you're looking for. So sorry about that. I had a little cough, but you can see it really clearly lays out exactly what selection you're doing, what characters, how many characters there are. It lets you see the column, it lets you see the row really clearly. It just makes it very simple. But let me jump back to something less crazy and just go to the simple blank screen here. Let's look at the top bar here. So here you have this. So one thing the developer assumes that you know is they assume that you know the shortcuts of what the icons mean by default in order to really know what they are. So obviously this is paste, this is copy, this is cut, this is your save area. So if you want to save, you can save it. This is your just button to go to line, and then this is your search, so you can search for a line. Obviously you have your save here, and then this button here allows you to open a new file. One thing that I can definitely tell the developer probably should put something on the lines of some way to discover what things are without having to click on them, because I understand that if you hover over, you can see the shortcut, all the shortcuts here. When you hover over everything, it just gives you shortcuts. This is probably more of a power using app, but I feel like there should be some way so you can see exactly what this is. So it should just hover and say like, oh, this is save, or this is open, and this is save, this is search, this is go to line, this is save as. They should allow you to do that. Just discover things better. So that's just the first gripe that I have with it. And then going on forward, you have your paste, and then here, this is a button that I didn't really understand too much about because I tried to use it. Control A. I tried to use it. Someone tell me please what this is. I even tried to highlight some things to see if maybe this does anything, whether it's a checklist function, I'm not sure. But someone could tell me. I would love to see that information. Obviously, you have your redo and undo. So right there, you have your undo and you have your redo. And then you have this button here. It just basically allows you to see your last actions. So you can see all the little last actions you did. You can insert file path. You can insert different things. And then you have here, if you have audio you want to put in, you can put audio in. Then you have here's another thing that I couldn't really figure out what this was. I think this is for web links. So if you have a web link, you can probably insert it. But this is another thing where if the developer had put in the feature of discoverability, so basically being able to just highlight or hover over an icon to see what it means, it would really be useful. And I'm also not sure whether it was for sake of cleanliness or maybe a study that the developer did in terms of how your eyes work, but I'm not sure why all the icons are all like on the right, like they're right justified. I'm not sure why that's the case. I'm not sure why, like, for example, this from here, this globe icon to here, I'm not sure why they didn't just center it or put it to the left or whatever. Maybe they did some experiments to see like what the ideal spot would be when you're looking at the screen, but it's kind of strange. But that is to each his own. And then down here you have your font style, so you can do bold. So if I type in the quick, my keyboard is very loud, the quick brown fox. If I want to highlight brown, you can even see that it even highlighted and let me put the bold in just like that. So if I wanted to do that, I can do bold. This also allows me to hit Control B to bold it, because that is the shortcut for bold. So you see that, and just like that right here, this is an example actually of what I meant by discoverability. I'm not sure why the icons for bold and italicized and underlined, you're able to see what they mean as well as the shortcut, but yet up here they just give you just the shortcut instead of like a parentheses or something like that to see like what it does as well as the shortcut. So that's a strange thing. And then you can also highlight something and then you can cross through it, so that way if it's like an article you're writing, like I know Mary Jo Foley tends to use Notepad to do a lot of her articles, this is a nice thing to do, to just have little features like that. Most of these features don't actually save. I read from another user, most of these features don't save when you actually the formatting features don't save when you actually save it. So if you try to change the font or anything like that, things like that the font changes won't show up in like Word when you copy it from Notepad. It'll be a default font that Windows is set to. And then here you have your alignment. So if you click this drop down button, you have alignment, miscellaneous icons. So you have your subscript. If you want to put square, you can put that in. You have different things like that, and I like this little discoverability item here where you can highlight over, and you also see at the bottom like this is what it means. It means superscript. So I like these little changes, and you have little what's called the bullet points and things like that. So it is flushed out in some ways, and it's not flushed out in other ways. Some may say that this top bar here, I'm going to call it a title bar or a menu bar up here, might be a poor use of space, but it's supposed to be touch friendly as well as just mouse friendly. So like I said, the only thing I can really say is moving this whole area up here between the globe and this open window here and open icon, moving it maybe to the center, maybe that would be better. Just shifting it all over to the center just to see just how possibly it could look like, and make it just front and center. So when you're typing up things from left to right in the center of the screen is always going to be probably your most used buttons there where it comes to searching and things like that. I would love to see that change happen. And then when you click on this too, you can see the different language, not languages, but just like if you're trying to format for certain things, you can format your text document for different things. See, it says to define the return character for your file. And then you can also see here the different encoding formats too, and they have even more there. So it's a pretty nice laid out application altogether. Going up to the far right to see more, you see here you have your new window, you have your new your share file by email, lock file. So if I click lock file, it'll do the same lock that's up there. File information. So if you want to see the information of this file, You can see that. You can see available backups, how many characters, how many words, how many rows it has. You can see the print queue. So if you want to print it, you can just print it right there. Show available backups. You can do spell check. And then there is one thing that I saw in some other place that was quite wrong. You have your spell check, you have your settings. So if you click settings, it brings up the Notepad X settings, and this allows you to see your fonts. So fonts, font size, font color, and so on. And the color gives you the whole spectrum of colors. You have your background, so you can set your background to a picture. You can set your background to fluent, which I'm going to actually do. If you want word wrap, you can do that. Accents, you got appearances, you got a whole lot of things. In fact, here it is right here, buttons on command bar. That's what it's called. It's called the command bar. Buttons on the command bar, and then actually you can see whether you want the command bar on the top or bottom, which is nice. They should still give an option for putting the command bar in the middle, like putting the buttons on the command bar in the middle. That would be really nice, but there's no option for that. But you can set it to be at the bottom, so I'm actually going to set it to the bottom just to throw people off and just to see how it looks too. And then you have your settings, your general settings, your encoding settings, your encoding for ANSI, and so on. And you can just go through this list. There's a whole lot of customization that you can do with this whole thing. Show navigation page in command bar. You can set additional file types if it's not available. You can set up which file types will work with Notepad X. You can set the selected. So basically, if you select text and you want it to open a link, it'll open it by default in Bing. So it says here, please define here the link when you search selected text on the web. Keep in mind to set the parameter 0 for the content you are searching for. So basically, what search engine will it use when you want to search for selected text in the web? And by default, obviously, it's going to be Bing. So you can change it like that. And then here, send file by email. So set up here the default email recipient when sending your file directly by email. So if you basically, if you're a person who almost always uses Notepad X or a Notepad to send things to a specific person all the time, you can set that person's email there, and it'll always, by default, if when you hit send, it'll send it to that person's email or to yourself if you want it to be that way. One thing that I did see up here was an autosave function. So you can turn it on and it'll autosave your things. I'm going to actually turn it off because I don't want it to autosave, but it's a good feature that even Apple was doing on their Pages applications and a lot of their stuff, that autosave function. It is kind of scary sometimes to think about autosave just because when something happens and the program crashes for whatever reason because it's a computer, you're not sure when it did its last save, So sometimes autosave might not be a good thing, especially if you're a programmer and you just like using Notepad for your basic program pseudocode stuff. Miscellaneous here, you can see here it says if you have problems with tabs and you want to reset the settings, you can do this. So here, activate an emergency page, and then you can see all of the information left over for it. And then printing, you can set more options for printing. So it's pretty in-depth compared to the last Notepad that I did. That's how in-depth it is. And then also, I set the command bar to the bottom, and I already hate the look of it, how it looks in the bottom. So I'm going to put it back to the top. But you can see how it looks when it's in the bottom. It looks kind of weird because you're looking up. When you're sitting in front of your computer screen, by default, most of us are looking towards the top of the computer screen. So when you have for me at least, when you have all the icons at the bottom, kind of makes you have to look down and then look back up and then look down again. So it kind of throws me off. So I'm actually going to change that command bar appearance. I'm going to set it back to the top just because it's kind of weird looking. Let me go back. There we go. Now that's much better. That is way better. I still wish this thing could be centered. I don't know why you can't have that option. With the amount of options that they give you, I'm surprised. But keeping on going, we have the info here. So you can see info. You see the developer here. I'm not going to try to say it. Actually, you know what? I think your name is Sanke Khan. I probably said it completely wrong, but people get my name wrong too. It's okay. Contact. So if you want to contact the developer via the feedback hub or just send an email, you can do that. You have your Twitter information, which I will give him a shout out when I am done. All of the dedicated users that did the localization and translations. You can see all the people who helped out with the application. And then you have your shortcuts here. So this person lays out all the shortcuts that the application gives you, lets you use, and it really helps if you really want to learn to be a power user for this application and really get nitty gritty into it. Then you have your change log here. You can see all his change logs since a long time ago. I'm not sure. I don't remember whether or not this is the latest time. Only in September is the last time he updated it, but I'm sure he updated it more recently. He just hasn't added it into the change log. So there's a lot into this application. I know I probably got a few things wrong, but there's a whole lot in this application here. You got your feedback, your donate, and so on. So yeah, it's a lot. And last thing before I let everyone go, this is how it looks when you've pretty much populated a lot of lines on this application, Notepad X. So I just wrote some basic pseudocode for a class that I was doing, and yes, this pseudocode actually does run. And this is how it looks when you fill up a lot of things. This is how it looks when you want to, let's say I want to highlight this and I want to do this and maybe bold some things so you can see I bolded some things. Let's say I want to bold Zeus. I can bold Zeus if I can highlight it well enough. There you go. So bolding does work. Underlining, Control U. Underlining does work. Italicize, I believe, is Control I. Let me see. Control I is not it. Oh no, Control I is. It just kind of removed it. That was weird. Control I. Yeah, so there's a lot of, the application works pretty well. It's kind of rough, but the application works pretty well. There's some UI elements that I feel like should be modified just to make it look a little bit more appealing. For example, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. This area here is a big hot mess. Like there's too much going on in this little right corner here. I think this second row here needs to just shift over to the middle. They should probably center this whole area just so that way it kind of divides the attention to this whole right side. They should just shift everything middle. Some of it will overlap. I think the globe will kind of touch the F here, but it's still much easier on the eyes when you just shift this whole command bar just to the middle, the icons to the middle. And then once that's done, I think that will be good enough for this application. And then in terms of the power using functions, it's up to the people, the users, to really modify and become true power users and understand every single command that this program can do. It looks very well fleshed out. Like this person is a true fan of Notepad, and I actually love this application if I was a heavy Notepad user. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And this was Notepad X, and to me this is a good leap forward for Notepad. Microsoft, take notice. Hire this guy. My name is Kwaku. I hope you guys had a good Cinco de Mayo. Take care, everybody.